Have you ever wondered what would happen if Earth was hollow inside? Picture it, our planet, not as a solid sphere of molten iron and rock, but a vast shell with an entire hidden world inside. Before we step into this mystery, take just a few seconds to hit the like button. Tell me in the comments if you believe in what I am about to share, and do not forget to subscribe if you are ready to explore ideas that will make you question everything you have been taught. Now, let us go down together. For centuries, humanity has asked the same dangerous question: what lies beneath our feet, not just in terms of caves, mines, or magma, but something far stranger. Imagine standing at the mouth of an abyss so deep you could scream and never hear the echo. Some early explorers wrote about caves where the air was warm, as if heated by an unseen sun. Sailors whispered of whirlpools in the ocean that dragged ships downward into worlds below. The hollow Earth theory suggests not only that Earth is hollow, but that it might even contain oceans, continents, and life forms entirely unknown to us. Wild, maybe. But ask yourself, why have so many cultures across thousands of years and across continents told stories about realms underground? Why do myths from Greece, India, China, and the Americas all share echoes of the same idea, that there is more beneath the ground than stone and lava? And here's the thought that keeps people awake at night: if there were something beneath us, would we even be allowed to know? Or would that truth be buried, hidden under centuries of denial, locked away in classified archives? Let us go back in time, thousands of years, to when the first civilizations looked up at the stars and wondered where we came from. Strangely, almost every culture also looked down and imagined worlds below. The Greeks told stories of Hades, the underworld, ruled by gods and spirits beneath the earth. To the Norse, there was Svartalheim, a subterranean realm where dwarves forged the weapons of Thor. In India, sacred texts described Patalas, layered underground kingdoms ruled by serpent kings with glowing jewels that lit their cities. Meanwhile, in Mesoamerica, the Maya believed in Xibalba, a vast underground labyrinth filled with trials for souls. Do you notice the pattern? These cultures were separated by oceans, by centuries, yet they all spoke of realms beneath. Coincidence, or shared memory of something real? Some scholars insist these are only metaphors for death. But why, then, do so many of these myths include details of light sources underground? Why do they speak of thriving cities and advanced beings? And here's a fun thought. If you were a farmer in 2000 BCE, and you stumbled into a glowing cavern filled with bizarre creatures, what would you do? You would not publish a scientific paper. You would run back, tell your neighbors, and eventually, that story would be retold until it became a myth. A myth, yes, but perhaps a myth rooted in truth. Jump forward to the 1600s. The world was changing, telescopes revealed planets, ships circled the globe, and brave thinkers questioned everything. Among them was Edmund Halley, the astronomer who predicted Halley's Comet. But Halley had another idea, one far stranger. He suggested that Earth might be hollow, made of concentric shells, each with its own atmosphere, and perhaps even a glowing inner sun. His proposal was not mocked. It was debated in academic circles for decades. In the 18th and 19th centuries, eccentric scholars began writing entire manuscripts about hollow Earth. Some published maps showing tunnels beneath the poles. Others claimed hidden gateways in the Himalayas. Strange reports even suggested caves where compasses went wild, as if magnetism itself was disturbed by forces underground. And then, curiously, many of these works vanished. Libraries reported lost manuscripts. Private collections mysteriously burned in fires. Certain government archives restricted access. Was it coincidence, or was knowledge being deliberately erased? Picture yourself finding a dusty journal in an old archive. Inside are sketches of subterranean cities, notes about inner suns, and warnings about encounters with beings below. Would you dismiss it as fiction, or would you wonder if the author had seen something real? The line between evidence and imagination has always been thin, and maybe that is exactly how those in power want it to remain. By the 19th century, hollow Earth was no longer just the stuff of philosophers and dreamers, it was the obsession of explorers. Adventurers began spreading rumors that entrances to the inner world could be found at the North and South Poles. Some maps, printed in limited copies, even marked mysterious openings at the top and bottom of the globe. Sailors returning from Arctic voyages spoke of strange fogs, warmer waters than expected, and flocks of birds flying farther north than any species should survive. One of the strangest stories came from Olaf Jansen, a Norwegian sailor in the late 1800s. He claimed that he and his father sailed through an opening at the North Pole, into an inner Earth teeming with life, lush forests, giant animals, and a central sun that never set. His story was dismissed as fantasy, yet Jansen stuck to it until his death. Was he delusional, or had he truly glimpsed something forbidden? Meanwhile, whispered reports from Himalayan expeditions spoke of caves so deep they seemed endless. Monks were said to guard certain valleys, warning travelers not to enter. And in 1906, a journalist wrote of a leaked naval report describing warm winds and open waters in the farthest south. Coincidence, or fragments of truth buried under ridicule? Here's the real question. If you were the first human to step into a hidden paradise inside the planet, would you share it with the world, or would you keep the secret, afraid that others might destroy it? Now imagine you yourself stepping into such a world. The ground opens, and suddenly you are not in darkness, but standing under a vast sky inside the earth. Above you glows not the sun we know, but a smaller orb suspended in the hollow center, radiating gentle light. It is perpetual daytime with no true night, only dim twilight when the inner sun drifts. Forests stretch across endless valleys, rivers carve through plains, and creatures both familiar and alien roam freely. Some accounts describe mammoths still alive, herds of them wandering beneath red-leaf trees. Others mention enormous birds, reptiles the size of houses, and humans, yes, humans, taller and stronger than any found on the surface. These are not the nightmares of a writer. They are stories repeated across journals, myths, and lost testimonies. But there is more. In some legends, the inner world is said to have cities built of crystal, powered by unknown energy sources, glowing like lanterns across the horizon. Imagine walking through streets where architecture bends like light, and languages sound both ancient and futuristic. Would you feel wonder or fear? The real twist is this: such a paradise might not be paradise at all. Every world has rules, and every society has guards. If the inner Earth exists, its inhabitants might not welcome us with open arms. They might see us as intruders or worse, parasites. What about the beings who might live there? This is where the stories become unsettling. Legends across the world describe encounters with giants, humans twice our size, with lifespans stretching centuries. Others speak of reptilian beings, intelligent but cold, living in cavern systems. In medieval Europe, stories of people from below surfaced, often described as pale, with strange eyes that glowed in the dark. One chilling tale from the 1940s tells of miners in South America who broke through into a cavern and never returned. Their tools were found, but the men themselves vanished. Local tribes whispered that they had entered the realm of the others, a race that despised the surface world. Whether true or not, the story was buried in local newspapers and forgotten. Even modern conspiracy circles claim governments know more than they admit. Files allegedly leaked from Cold War archives describe military teams investigating deep caves, only to encounter hostile unknowns. What does that even mean? Were they animals, or were they intelligent beings defending their territory? Here's the unsettling thought: if another species lives below us, they have been here as long as we have. Maybe longer. And if they have survived in secrecy all this time, then they probably want to keep it that way, by any means necessary. Now let us move to the 20th century, where the Hollow Earth story takes its strangest turn. In 1947, Admiral Richard E. Byrd, a decorated U.S. naval officer, led an expedition to the North Pole. Officially, it was about exploration. Unofficially, well, that is where the whispers begin. According to a diary that supposedly surfaced years later, Byrd claimed his aircraft flew into an opening near the pole, where he discovered a land unlike any on the maps. He wrote about green valleys, mammoths still roaming, and advanced beings who communicated with him telepathically. These beings warned humanity against nuclear weapons, claiming they had watched us from below for centuries. The diary was never confirmed, of course. Historians argue it was a hoax. But here's the strange part. Records show Byrd gave secret briefings in Washington shortly after his flight. Some accounts suggest his notes were classified, sealed away in military archives. Why, if nothing happened, what was there to hide? Imagine being Byrd, an officer bound by duty, yet confronted with something beyond human understanding. Do you keep the secret, or risk everything to tell the truth? That is the kind of choice that turns a man into either a hero or a ghost in history. Of course, mainstream science rejects the hollow Earth theory outright. Seismology shows shockwaves from earthquakes traveling through Earth, revealing a molten core, not empty space. Physics suggests gravity would not even work the same way if the planet were hollow. On paper, the idea collapses under its own weight. But here's where it gets complicated. While science says no, conspiracy theories say maybe. Some researchers argue seismic data has anomalies, places where waves bend unexpectedly, as if passing through something unknown. Others claim certain NASA images of the poles were blurred or edited, fueling speculation of hidden entrances. And governments, they say, silence anyone who gets too close. It raises an uncomfortable question. Do we reject the hollow Earth idea because it is impossible, or because we have been taught never to ask? Remember, once upon a time people laughed at the idea that Earth orbited the Sun, or that continents drifted. Science evolves. What is dismissed today might be reconsidered tomorrow. So ask yourself this: if tomorrow morning a respected scientist presented undeniable proof of hollow Earth, photographs, samples, live footage, would you believe it, or would you assume it was fake because it does not fit what you were taught in school? Now let us play with imagination. Suppose you fell into an opening deep enough to reach the inner world. The first thing you notice is the light. It is soft, golden, endless. There is no night, no stars, only the glow of the inner sun above. The air is thick with oxygen, so rich that every breath feels like energy surging into your body. You walk through forests where the trees tower higher than skyscrapers. Strange calls echo in the distance. And then you see movement. Something is watching you. Maybe it is a giant bird circling overhead, wings as wide as airplanes. Maybe it is a human, taller than you, stronger than you, who speaks in a language that sounds both familiar and alien. Do you run, or do you stay? The ground vibrates. In the distance, you hear what sounds like drums. Or maybe it is footsteps, massive, steady, coming closer. You hide behind a tree, heart pounding, as shadows stretch across the glowing horizon. At that moment, you realize you are not a visitor. You are prey. But then, just as suddenly, the figure passes. Silence returns. The question burns inside you. If you had to survive one night here, what would you do? Find shelter, look for food, or try to make contact with the unknown? It is easy to dismiss the hollow Earth as fantasy until you imagine yourself standing inside it, alive, terrified, and very, very small. Let us imagine the unthinkable. What if the inner Earth was not peaceful at all, but hostile? Suppose civilizations below saw us not as neighbors, but as a threat. What would happen if a war erupted, surface against subterranean? Legends already hint at such conflicts. In Native American traditions, there are stories of battles with ant people, beings who came from underground. In medieval Europe, tales spoke of creatures emerging from caves during times of famine and drought, clashing with villagers. Even during World War I, rumors circulated that strange tunnels discovered in Eastern Europe were not man-made, but ancient structures from something much older. Now imagine it with modern weapons. Tanks and drones rolling into caverns, jets trying to fly under mountains. And what if the inner world had its own technology, crystals powering weapons, energy shields, or creatures used as living war machines? Who would win? Us with nuclear power, or them, with thousands of years adapting to an environment we can't even survive in for a day? And here's the haunting thought. Maybe the reason hollow Earth remains a secret is not because it does not exist, but because a silent conflict is already happening, hidden from history, recorded only in whispers and redacted reports. Sometimes the biggest secrets hide in plain sight. Think about the pyramids of Egypt, massive structures aligned with stars, built with precision that even modern engineers debate. Some researchers suggest they were not just tombs, but markers of energy lines that connect to something deeper below. Then there is Stonehenge. Circles of stone standing for thousands of years. Was it simply a calendar, or was it a gateway, an ancient map pointing to caverns beneath the Earth. In South America, the Nazca lines stretch for miles, visible only from above. But what if they were not meant for the sky at all, but for beings underground, looking up through openings? Even in modern times, enormous cave systems have been discovered, like Sun Dong in Vietnam, so massive it has its own climate and clouds. If such wonders exist just beneath the surface, who is to say larger, stranger worlds do not lie deeper still? The thought is chilling. Maybe ancient civilizations did not build monuments to the gods. Maybe they built signposts for those who live below. And if that is true, it means we have been sharing this planet all along without realizing it. So let us gather everything and ask, what if Earth really was hollow? How would life, history, even humanity itself change? First, gravity would behave differently. The inner sun would provide eternal daylight, transforming ecosystems. Species thought extinct, mammoths, saber-toothed cats, might still roam. Humanity might not be alone, as the dominant intelligent species. We could be just one branch of a tree that grows both above and below. Second, politics would shatter. Imagine the headlines, underground civilization discovered. Nations would race to claim territory, corporations to mine resources, religions to rewrite theology. Wars might not be fought between countries anymore, but between worlds, the surface and the inner. Third, the deepest question, what does it mean for us? If there is another world inside ours, are we explorers, invaders, or refugees? Would we seek to live together, or would fear tear us apart? The hollow earth theory may sound like fantasy, but like all great stories, it forces us to ask bigger questions. Who are we? Where did we come from? And are we really alone? And so we have traveled from ancient myths to lost manuscripts, from secret expeditions to chilling encounters, all to ask one question. What if Earth was hollow? Maybe it is nothing more than imagination. Or maybe it is a truth so profound that humanity is not ready to face it. Think about it. Civilizations across the world, separated by oceans and centuries, all whispered of realms below. Explorers wrote of strange openings, journals vanished, and even military officers left behind stories that refused to die. Science tells us the Earth is solid, yet legends tell us to keep looking deeper. Which do you believe? The hollow Earth theory, whether true or not, serves as a mirror. It reflects our endless curiosity, our hunger for discovery, and our fear of the unknown. Because deep down, every human wonders, are we truly alone on this planet, or have we always had neighbors, living just out of sight? Before we close this journey, I want to thank you for staying with me until the end. These stories take time and passion to tell, and your support makes it worthwhile. Now I would love to hear from you. If you had the chance to step inside the hollow Earth, what would you bring with you first? A camera, a weapon, or just your courage? Drop your answer in the comments, because I want to know what kind of explorer you would be. And of course, if you enjoyed this, do not forget to like, share, and subscribe for more journeys into mysteries that the world would rather keep hidden. Because one thing is certain, the story does not end here.